Hello, you absolutely amazing member, you. Really gonna try to make sure not to release this one to the public. These are supposed to be little perks for the membership. Kind of screwed that up a couple weeks ago. That's okay. I took it as creator telling me this one's got to go out to the greater public. But I do want to have perks for my members because you guys are so amazing in supporting me. So welcome to here. The problem is, just FYI, for anyone using YouTube, the problem is you cannot schedule member only videos ahead of time. I can schedule member only then to public, but you can't, if you schedule it, it can't be member unless I got to figure it out. If you know, let me know because I haven't found that option yet. Anyways, what are we talking about today in this bonus video for members only? Really looking at why I'm so adamant that this is an Indigenous centered space. And no, I haven't, it's not overkill. And yes, I've mentioned it before, it's my entire channel, but I wanted to share a quote with you and let's talk about the why. So let's talk about it. Bonjour, Mishko Paganon, Quain Adishnakas Mangdodem, you know who I am, you're a member, and Sandy Boucher, how are you doing? I hope you're having an amazing Sunday, and let's talk about this Indigenous-centered space. Now, I knew why this was so important to me, but every now and then, don't know if this happens to you, I pray this happens to you. Every now and then, something in life happens, and it just reconfirms what you knew. It's like, thanks for that heads up, creator. I really super appreciated that. I've mentioned it a few times in my other videos that I follow Ed Mylett. Link below. Check out his podcast. So worth the time and effort. And he brings on the most amazing guests. Even when he does the solo ones, they're phenomenal. Definitely worth your time. But his guests are phenomenal. I did the Are You a Bunny video because of his podcast with Jewel. Yawning. Don't know why. I ate this time. Today, I wanted to touch on his podcast episode he did with Jim Kwik, KWIC. Jim is the author of the book Limitless, and yes, I have it handy here on my desk, but to dig it out from all the other books I have to read, that would cause quite the catastrophe, so I'm not going to do that. Here is the quote. I don't care if you're Indigenous or not. Excuse me. I guess I need water. That's what it is. I forgot water. I'm so sorry about that. Um, this is going to knock you on your tush because it knocked me on my tush. And I think I know you well enough that it's going to knock you on your tush. Here's the quote. Beware your external words as they so often become a child's internal words. Beware your external words as they often become a child's internal words. I don't think I've ever met an adult who didn't have to put in significant time and effort to unpack internal words, often words that were birthed in their childhood. Don't be so stupid because your child is acting out is a really lousy internal message. And we got to unpack that. So when it comes to this space and why I'm so adamant that it's an Indigenous centered, safe space for Indigenous peoples, and this is, yes, you can learn so much by hanging here, but that is not the intent. Non-Indigenous education cannot be at the price of Indigenous pain. You've heard me say this 100 times. And if you think of the residential schools 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 generations went through those schools, depending on what area you're from and where the residential school was or which one you got sent to. So think of how you learn how to be a parent. You have one. Up to 7 generations of some indigenous families did not have a parental example. They had an institutional example. I cannot count how many indigenous adults I've met who will not hug you and do not want to hug because they've never known a healthy one. These are people that struggle to say, I love you, because no one said that to them. Their parents couldn't because their parents didn't have that experience. What I love, okay, seriously, what's with the yawning? Peeving myself up here. What I love is so many adults I have met, they could not get it together. They did not have the opportunity to do enough healing or the time or whatever the case might be to get it together to be able to say I love you to their kids, but so many of them managed to get there for their grandkids. And I think that's something worth celebrating because they got there. So this is a safe space where they're not going to hear. And that's why I adamantly, you may not know this, but if an Indigenous person comments about another Indigenous person in a negative way, whoever they're attacking or judging, for one, internalized oppression, that judgment, that bullying, that gossiping, or whatever is all part of the reaction to oppression. If that happens, that comment is deleted. And some people might say you're silencing an Indigenous voice. No, I'm silencing an attack because this is a safe space and that's just not going to happen here. And that's what I encourage people to do in their communities, First Nation communities. You got to be the first. You got to say, no, stop that. I don't want to gossip. I'm walking away. Yes, you can talk about me while I'm gone. Could care less. You're going to do it anyways. But I'm not taking part in this. And I would be the biggest hypocrite in the world if I asked other people to do this and I didn't do it. So those comments get removed. The bullying in schools, same thing. I don't care which group you're attacking. If you're attacking, not in this space. Um, the legal system, the justice system, like are so angled against Indigenous people, which is why the over incarceration rates. Did you know that a non-Indigenous person and an Indigenous person charged with the same crime, the Indigenous person has a much higher chance of actually being incarcerated as opposed to being let out on parole or probation, I guess it would be. And social media, there should be a requirement that you got to, back in the day, we had monitors of our pages and we made sure that people played nice. And more people got to do that with their comment section. And yes, it's a commitment, but otherwise it just becomes a cesspool. And I have no desire to hang out in the cesspool. So on this channel, as I always say, I encourage, this is not the place to share your story. If you really want to tell me your story, send me an email. Totally cool and down with hearing it. But this is a place for Indigenous stories to be told. And I'm holding space for those stories. Share elsewhere. And you can take my video if you're really adamant about commenting on the video. Share it to your social media and then comment on it. Then it's your page or your thread. Knock your socks off. What you do there is up to you. If you don't want to do that, now, and some people say, well, they get hesitant about, well, I don't want to share your video on my page. Why? If you support the work I do, then why would your friends be surprised that you shared my video? Would you receive backlash because of the kind of friends you have? If you aren't, if you are comfy enough to criticize, you know what, this might have to be a public video. I just realized Crater's whispering in my ear. I got to find something else for my members, obviously. And I will. I totally will. But I know what I might do. Okay. Anyways, oh, that would be a really good idea. If you feel comfy criticizing my video, but you don't feel comfy sharing it on your page, then you're not in the arena. What are you standing up for? What are you daring to share your opinion like I do? Are you daring to be a target like I do? Or cheap seats? I don't think you're sitting in the cheap seat. So I guess this isn't a member only video. I did it again. Bottom line, can we hold space for each other? I was really impressed with myself last week. A friend was struggling and needed to share, wanted some advice, but needed to share. And I was going to say we spoke for 3 hours, but he spoke for 3 hours. And I sat and I listened and allowed that space and held that space. A younger me couldn't have done that. A younger me would have been way too hyper and wanting to jump in with advice. A younger me did not do that with my own children. And I was so proud of me because I was able to do that from my friend. And that's the kind of friend I want to be. So let's work together and hold space on this channel. And if you need to share, then like I said, share my video and share on your space. Create your space to share. Jump in the arena with me. It's actually a great place to be. And here, we don't listen to the cheap seats. I hope that made sense. Members, let me get back to you. I gotta go adjust the benefits because tier 3 is about to get way better. And then tier 2 gets improved as well. Creator, you're amazing. If there's one thing, I do what I think is right until Creator shows me I can do better, and then I'm happy to do better. So this just got better. Stay tuned. You'll see why. I love you. Take care. Bye-bye.